Hello, this is Shelley from Heartland Realty in DeSoto, Missouri. This is another episode of Shelley Makes It Happen, and thank you for tuning in to this YouTube video. Today I'm going to talk a little bit, and for those of you that may be new to the videos that I'm doing, I try to just talk about some general things that I have knowledge of from being a real estate agent. And I am, of course, in DeSoto, Missouri. So depending on what part of the country you're in, practices may be a little different in other parts of the country. But this is kind of an overview with some just very basic knowledge. And of course, if you have any questions or need any follow-up, you can call me or email me or tune in to my YouTube video and just send me a message, or on Facebook, and I'll do whatever I can to answer any general questions. So today I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about a question that I'm asked a lot from different clients. They'll ask me, like, what about buying a foreclosure? And do I need a foreclosure specialist to buy a foreclosure? Because you'll see advertisements here and there that'll say, from other agents that I'm a foreclosure specialist. So buyers want to know, like, how do I buy a foreclosure, and how can I look at foreclosures? Because of course, the first thing that people think of when they think about a foreclosure is, I'm going to get a deal. They feel like they're going to get a deal, which is true in some cases. It is not true in all cases. So first off, I will just say, I've been doing this. I've been selling real estate. I got my license in 2010, so it's now 2021. I have yet to really myself even figure out what a foreclosure specialist really is. Any agent can sell a foreclosure. I've sold many of them, and I would venture to bet that most agents have. So you don't necessarily need a foreclosure specialist to buy a foreclosure. I'm not really sure what is different about a foreclosure specialist or someone that says that they're a foreclosure specialist. So, any agent, when houses go into foreclosure, many times the bank, and keep in mind, foreclosures can be from any bank or any lender. Anyone, can foreclose on a property, and every bank has their own method. So there are different ways that foreclosures are marketed. Sometimes they're sold on the courthouse steps, and sometimes they're sold through auctions. There are a lot of different outlets for banks and lenders to sell foreclosures. So the ones that a real estate agent is going to be familiar with are ones that are actually listed with an agent and put into the MLS. And they are put into the MLS, the multiple listing service, along with many other houses. And if you look closely at any house on the MLS where it'll say owned, if you see one that says it's bank owned or government owned, that is a foreclosure if it doesn't say that it's privately owned. So when you're looking at houses, you may be looking at houses on whatever website or outlet you go to, and you don't really even realize that it's a foreclosure, because there's really no difference in the way that they show up in our MLS as agents. So what's different about a foreclosure, and the things that you kind of need to know maybe about buying a foreclosure that are different, is, again, people think that they're a deal, but they also come with I'm not going to say their own set of problems, but when you buy a foreclosure, it is a little bit of a different transaction for you than buying from a private seller. So some of the things that you need to, look out for is, number one, if you're a cash buyer, great. You can always, if you're a cash buyer, a cash is king, as they say, and you can buy whatever you want. But the vast majority of people on the market buying houses are doing loans. So a foreclosure, not in all cases, because you're going to find some foreclosures that are in just as good a shape as any other house, but many foreclosures are not in the best of condition. Generally speaking, you have to kind of figure, if someone unfortunately couldn't make their house payments and stay in their house, they probably couldn't keep up on the maintenance either. That's kind of a general train of thought that I try to think about or tell people whenever we talk about foreclosures. And of course, there's exceptions to every rule, but generally speaking, the house is probably not going to be in tip-top shape, let's just say. So depending on your loan type and this is something you need to speak to your lender more, in depth with, a foreclosure may be difficult for you to buy if you're doing a loan type that requires the house to be, move-in ready, have appliances, and not need any repairs done. A foreclosure would be a difficult house for you possibly to buy if the condition of the foreclosure isn't good, along with any other house as far as that goes. A privately owned house can be in bad condition too, but that is one of the obstacles with a foreclosure. When you're doing a loan, you have to really think about the condition of the house and if it's going to meet the requirements of the loan that you're doing. All foreclosures across the board are going to say they're as is. And again, private sellers can say that too. But a bank or a lender is absolutely, I can tell you, not going to make an exception. When they say they're selling the house as is, that is exactly what they mean, that you're either going to take it or leave it. And, you can have inspections. You can certainly have inspections. On any home that you buy, you can have an inspection done and you can get out of the contract if those inspections don't meet your standards, as long as you're within your inspection period. And that's kind of a different video. But getting a bank or a lender to take a house that's in foreclosure status and make repairs is most likely not going to happen. And they may, and this will happen sometimes, and people get irritated. Sometimes they'll lose, a bank will lose some buyers due to something drastic, maybe that's wrong with the house. And then, they'll reduce the price and put it back on the market and find someone that'll purchase it as is. But they're not usually very negotiable once they get a contract with someone. It is, again, kind of a take it or leave it deal. The other thing I think that people have trouble understanding is how difficult it is to negotiate with a bank or on a foreclosure. And so and a lot of foreclosures are HUD foreclosures, but not all of them, but a lot of them are HUD foreclosures. So I'm going to talk mainly about kind of the process that they use, because I think a lot of other banks kind of follow suit with them. And that, typically, when they put a house on the market and they decide on a price to put on that house, they're not going to vary off of that price. And people think, they put it on the market for $100,000, I'll offer 60 because the bank just wants to get rid of it. That is very untrue. The bank has done their homework, they've done their comps, and when they put that house on the market, they have put it on a price on there that they feel is what it's worth based on their research, even in the condition that it's in. So I'm not saying they won't come down at all. They most certainly will, but they're not going to come down, huge amounts of reductions. Now, what they will do is if they don't get it sold, they'll go back and look at it again, the powers that be, whether that be the board of directors or, and a lot of foreclosures don't even handle them in-house. They hire companies, and they've probably given that company, kind of this is where we want to be, and that's as low as that particular assigned person to work on the foreclosure can take. And if that's just not working and it sits on the market, they'll go back to the drawing board, much like a privately owned home, and they might do a price reduction, and then they'll get it down where it needs to be. But when you're negotiating with them, the person that you're negotiating with that's representing the bank definitely has some guidelines of authorization of what they've been authorized to do. So don't make the assumption that they're desperate and they'll do anything to get rid of that home. That's really not true. They may work with you, some banks better than others, but typically they have some parameters of what they can and can't do, and they're going to stay within those parameters. So I'll talk a little bit too about the next type of sale, kind of a second cousin, let's say, to a foreclosure, and that's a short sale. And I'll talk just for a minute on that. So if you talk to someone that says the house is not in foreclosure, but they're doing a short sale means that whoever owns the home is missed some payments. Typically they have to miss 3 before they can do a short sale. And they are trying to sell the home for less than what they owe on the home. So they call it a short sale. The amount that they're going to be able to sell the house for will not cover the mortgage. It will not pay off the mortgage. So therefore, even though you're dealing with a short sale with a private seller, much like any other home, that private seller has to go back to the bank and ask the bank or the lender who they have their loan with if they would allow them to take a contract that's going to come in short of paying off the mortgage. So the person selling the house has a lot of paperwork that the bank is going to be asking them for. They're going to be looking very closely at that person's financials to see why they're unable to make the payments and why they need to be granted a short sale. So this process has very little to do with the buyer, but it does. It is a lengthy process because the bank and whoever is selling the house have a lot of, let's just say, negotiation, for lack of a better term, between them as to whether or not the bank is going to approve this short sale. So so if you make an offer on a house that has a short sale, buckle in. It's going to take a little while to get it approved, and it may or may not be approved. You could wait 3 months and then the short sale not be approved. That definitely can happen. You can definitely get some good deals on some short sales, but you'll have to be patient. And again, all the same rules will apply. It'll have to pass your loan, of course, and there's probably not going to be a lot of negotiation there with the seller because the seller's already not going to walk away with anything. They're doing a short sale because they're unable to make the payments. And the first rule of thumb for any bank to give them a short sale approval is that they cannot be making any profit whatsoever. So the person selling the house really is not going to financially benefit from this sale at all. The benefit to them, if you're a seller, the benefit to doing a short sale is that it will be quicker than a foreclosure, meaning that you can, when you go to buy a new house down the road, when maybe you've gotten a new job or whatever it is, and you've kind of gotten your finances in order, they're going to look at your history. A short sale will, make that time frame go a little quicker for you than if you go through the foreclosure process with the bank. So there is some advantages to a seller to arrange a short sale, but they will not make any profit either way that they go with that. So there's a whole lot more we could talk about and a whole lot more in depth. And I encourage you to talk to your agent. If I'm not your agent, talk to your agent about a foreclosure and a short sale and ask them, any questions that remain after you watch this video. But I tried to give you kind of a brief explanation of what those things mean when you see those in listings. And I hope that that's been helpful. So thank you again for tuning in to my YouTube channel, Shelley Makes It Happen. And again, I'm Shelley Ungerank, and I am with Heartland Realty in DeSoto. Thank you.